Hello everyone, my name is Miftahunajah Aditiya and here I will talking about ethnocentrism as one of barriers in intercultural communication. Each region has its own culture. In just one country, such as our country Indonesia, there are various cultures that grow and develop and become the characteristic of each region. As we know, humans need to communicate with other humans to fulfill their needs as a social beings. Thus, intercultural communication is inevitable. So, what is intercultural communication? Intercultural communication is communication that carried out by two or more people who have different culture backgrounds. Culture here refers to patterns of behaviors, belief, and customs in the area of origin of the communicator. The process of delivering message carried out in cross-cultural communication can be orally, writing, or certain symbols that have been agreed upon. With the existence of different cultures, it will affect perception, ways of thinking, as well as the language used by the individual concerned. So that in the implementation of intercultural communication often encounter obstacles like differences in perception due to language differences. For example, in Sundanese, the word atos means already or sudah, while in Japanese, the word atos means hard or crush. So, one of the barriers in intercultural communication in Indonesia, especially, is ethnocentrism. So, what is ethnocentrism? Ethnocentrism is an attitude of belief that one's own culture is superior to other cultures. They even tend to look down on other cultures and do not want to recognize the uniqueness of other cultures as a characteristic of other groups. Ethnocentrism views and measures other cultures based on their own culture, and if they are not in line, they are considered contradictory and dangerous because they have the potential to pollute their own culture. This can result in restrictions on association with individuals who have different cultures. Okay, so what are the factors that made the ethnocentrism? There are three factors that made the ethnocentrism. First is history. The group's past history can turn into an identity. This makes the individual or group feel that they have the culture and history. These various identities, namely in the form of language, habits, to past events that come from ancestors. Next, we have plurality of nations. The Indonesian nation has many tribes, races, religions, and groups. With the condition of pluralistic nation, it often triggers and give rise to many conflicts. This is because each religion, ethnicity, race, and group will always try for them to gain power by controlling others. Last, we have political. When an individual or group wants to achieve a legitimate power, usually a feeling of fanatism will arise with the identity attached to it. This is because politics is often seen as the right place to launch personal and group interests. For example, Japanese, due to the influence of the New Order as the center of government, they considered themselves the most advanced of the rest of Indonesia. A case that often occurs in Indonesia also is the unilateral destruction of houses of worship carried out by conservative elements who are fanatical and act vigilant. Correct behavior in Madura also the example of the ethnocentrism. Kerok is assassination attempt carried out by a Madurese man when he feels that his pride has been disrupted by others. For outsiders who see this phenomenon, they may think this behavior is very brutal, but in fact for the Madurese, this behavior is considered by very sacred. And the last, until now, Balinese people still adhere to the color or caste tradition which divides people into certain social positions. Okay, now after we know what ethnocentrism is, what causes and example of it, then how do we eliminate or at least to reduce ethnocentrism? First, we can be open. Each party needs to be open-minded and familiar with various thoughts. This ability will help us control our views and responses to things. Thus, the output that comes out is not only based on personal opinion, but something that is general in nature and can be applied or understood by other parties. This open attitude comes from the mindset that everyone has their own opinion and we cannot judge only from our own perception. We can also understanding, acknowledging, and accepting differences. The next way to deal with ethnocentrism in communication is to respect differences. Understand that everyone is different. In fact, in one tribe, each individual can have different beliefs. Because basically, humans create their own environment or culture as a process of adaptation to the physical and biological environment. And over time, other changes will continue to occur due to the emergence of new discoveries, the spread of culture and cultural acceptance. This is why every ethnic group in Indonesia has different views and values. These values that have been ingrained since birth ultimately influence individuals in assessing and responding to things. Ethnocentrism may not have an effect on people who have many similarities, but problems will arise if they communicate with people from outside cultures or even from different countries. The inability to understand the nature of differences is one of the causes of the failure of intercultural communication. We can also see these differences as a cultural wealth. Ethnocentrism may still be maintained, but with certain limitation and with a different understanding of a difference. On the one hand, ethnocentrism can strengthen kinship and can give each other a sense of security in a group. This is a positive thing. However, if the context begins to expand, there needs to be a new view of the meaning of a difference. Difference is not to compartmentalize, but to provide color, atmosphere, and new things. We also can avoid judgmental attitude. As mentioned in point number 1, open thinking can make us accustomed to new thoughts so that we can control the output that comes out of ourselves. And one form of control is to avoid judging others. When we are communicating, especially with people who have different backgrounds, position him or her on an equal footing with us. And don't make premature assumptions. When someone shares their thoughts, listen and respect their opinions. Don't make assumptions before really saying it from his point of view, so that we can also catch what he means according to his way of thinking. Builds collaboration and communication with other individuals and cultures. To get used to differences, we need to get used to communicating with everyone, even if they have a different background and culture from us. If we are used to it, we will be better able to judge things from various sides and considerations. The response that comes out does not apply to we or a particular group, but can be understood and understood by various parties. This will be very useful in communication in the workplace and become one of the factors to achieve communication in a business environment. We will really need this number 6 skill point if we have a goal to become someone who is successful in the professional world. And the last, always think positive. Maybe you are a person who is already able to control ethnocentrism, but your environment does not fully understand the meaning of difference. Well, here's a challenge for you how to respond. The only way so the ethnocentrism does not become a problem in communication relationships is to give a positive response. To always give a positive response. Don't be easily offended and don't be easily provoked. Okay, that's all, and thank you and see you in the next video. Bye bye.